Good morning, everyone. It's Saturday morning on Getting Back to Zero. I am my name's Jeff Graham in Wheeling, West Virginia on a big family reunion of my wife's family and all sorts of people that I don't know. And this morning, the dogs, Billy, my dog, who you see in my background, and Leia, I think is her name, another lab. The three of us were out this morning and joining. I think the three of us were the only ones that weren't hungover this morning, which is great. But it was a very successful weekend. Last night, we have another one tonight, but all sorts of people. I made sure that I had my Diet Pepsis with me at all times, so I had something in my hand. I had phone numbers ready. I had a fully charged cell phone. There's a couple people I called just to check in, and a couple people that I had even mentioned what was going on called me. So I came to the party with my Diet Pepsi, but I also came with a fully charged cell phone and accountability. And I had a great time. Taking for me those tools ahead of time, the preparation, I almost then I don't need them. Just preparing them and reviewing that in my mind gets me good to go. So anyways, that's all I had. It was, we're on a great trip out here, and I'll report back. We've got Kezia and Peggy on this morning who are going to co-host, but we've got Blair from Minnesota, who I have not heard her story, but I've heard bits and pieces, and so excited to have her on. So I'm going to bring everyone just into the group real quick. How do I do that? Remove that, and I'm going to put us on gallery. How you doing, everyone?
Great.
Morning.
Hello.
Blair, you're the host of the hour. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Peggy's the only one that had to get up. Peggy, did you even go to bed last night, or are you just easier to stay up? Or
yeah,
well, I'm gonna
look at the clock. If I look at the clock and it says 3, I'm up, right? So I try not to look at my clock at all, because I know that's going to happen. So if I see 3 o'clock, I am up. So I'm an early morning person anyway. Not always on a Saturday getting up this early, but it's just been part of my sobriety routine too. That I get such good sleep. Really getting up at usually 4 is fine, because I've gotten 6 hours of actual real sleep. So I'm good. I'm really excited to be there, and Kezia is always, a good sidekick. So
yeah, I'm an early morning person too. So this weekend is a little bit nicer here than last weekend. It's supposed to be sunny and 83, and my husband is already off to the golf course for a men's golf whatever day. And I'm very excited because I am meeting my first sober person in real life today. She's a member of the Luckiest Club, and she's coming to visit from Boston. So I am very excited because I'm like, all the feels, we always spend a lot of time in these rooms, but to really go out in the wild is I don't know, endless possibilities. So
well, we have, speaking of Boston, we have David from TLC. David M is going to be on tomorrow night with Kathy at 8 o'clock Eastern time. I'm going to bow out of this thing, but Blair, I got to ask you just one question, and then I'll shut up. What's with Minnesota? At least from what I see, we have in some of a lot of the national groups, there's a lot of us drinkers from Minnesota. So oh my God, it just seems the numbers. I hear Midwest Minnesota thing all the time.
And Wisconsin, right? It's that Midwest.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, and
the long winter is what it is, right?
That's great. It just cracks me up.
That's funny.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right. Hey, I'll talk to you soon. I'll be here though.
Yeah. Excellent. Blair, we're very excited to have you here. Blair is on Instagram. For anyone who follows Sober Count, she's a sobriety activist. And I've been following you for probably since the beginning of my sobriety journey last summer. And I've heard little bits and pieces of your story, but we're excited to just get you to jump right into it wherever you want to start off and whatever you want to share today. So take it away.
So Yeah, thanks for having me, by the way. Bright and early here. I've been up for a couple hours because my internal alarm clock just like forces me up at 5. But yeah, so I guess I'll just start from the beginning. I started drinking probably when I was like 16 or 17 in high school. And it was, just typical high school, your typical high school drinking experience, I guess, just experimenting with different things like that. And in the moment, I never really thought, even back then, like everything was just like everybody was doing it, right? Like, this isn't weird. This is just what happened. And now that I look back, even then, like in high school, even when I started drinking, it was like way more than not everybody else, but like I would get drunk faster, just like get really drunk, and I just thought that that was normal because I didn't know any different, and I can see like kind of glimpses of that throughout my whole drinking career, sort of. So had a few, too much to drink nights, of course, in high school. I played basketball, so it was kind of easy to get caught in the town that I grew up in if you played sports. So I didn't drink too much, just enough. I mean, I did get in trouble one time in high school and had to sit out of basketball for a couple weeks. But I think I was in my senior year then, and I honestly didn't really care that much at that point. It's not like I was going off, to play basketball in college or anything like that. So, so then I went to college, and where I went to college, it was a community college just about an hour south of where I grew up, which is actually the city that I live in now, is where I went to college when I was 18. So, so I've been here since I was 18 in Rochester, Minnesota. And minus 1 year. But when I moved out to my, out of your parents' house, you move out and you're on your own, and it's like, whoa, this is super cool. Like, you have all the freedom in the world. Nobody telling you when to go home or what to do or when to do things. You're kind of on your own. So where I moved out to was a apartment building, and it was all college students for the most part. And we had 2 roommates, a friend of mine and I had 2 roommates that we hadn't met before. So it was kind of like a dorm situation, but it was apartments. And so it was almost even more like we were more adults, there was like one manager, right, for the whole apartment complex, like just a normal apartment complex. But anyways, so lots of drinking there, right? We could find somebody who could get us the booze because we were 18, which isn't hard, by the way, to do, and yeah, so just partying. And school was kind of like, oh yeah, I have to go to school. I forgot, like it was about having fun. It wasn't about school. It was like fun was like the big important part of it. And then school was like, oh yeah, I have to go to school. So I would still go to school here and there, right? It took me a little bit longer though, for that reason, probably. To get through school. But I was just kind of like one of those like C's get degrees person, like it's just, I don't need to get good grades as long as I pass the class and I get credit for the class, so lots of drinking. And again, like everybody was doing it, everybody was having, and at that point we were really like, for me, even like I was really hitting it hard. Like it was lots of binge drinking, parties, every night. I guess like your maybe typical college drinking type of activities, right? So and I quickly found the people that I would do that with. I knew several people that I had gone down there with to school, so that helped. And then we just met people right away, so it was easy. I did leave 1 year to go to a university in Wisconsin, and I also turned 21 there. So you can guess how that went. I lived like a block away from the street. Every college town has like that street that just has all bars. I lived a block away from that street. So it was right there. I quickly met people across the street, and they were hardcore partiers. So it was like all the time. Same thing, just drink. Got a fake ID that looked nothing like me. I'm like 6 foot tall, and this girl was like 5'6". So they clearly like weren't looking at that. But yeah, so again, just overdoing it every time I drink, binge drinking, blacking out most of the time, I would say. I never really, even anytime, even up till like when I quit drinking, I was never really a person who would just have a drink. Like that just didn't make any sense to me. Like I would want the buzz. And then when I got the buzz, it was just like, it wasn't maintaining that. It was like going full throttle at it. Like it was, and it wasn't even like something that I thought about. I think I just did it. Like just drink, I just kept drinking until basically it was time to go home and you fall asleep. So that was college. And then after that, I actually moved back down to Rochester or to Minnesota and to finish out school. So it took me 6 years to get my bachelor's degree, but I do have that. And I finally got that. Even throughout my 20s, I still was drinking pretty heavily. So always a binge drinker, always. Never an off switch, never thinking I needed an off switch, really. Like it was never like, oh, let me go have this like one beer at dinner or a glass of wine at dinner, So it was, how can I get a buzz and how can I keep the buzz and then keep the fun going? Like it's bar closed, like let's go home. What are we going to do after the bar closes? And then what are we going to do tomorrow? Like it was just constant. Every day of the week, there's a reason to drink. There's wine Wednesdays and thirsty Thursdays and fun day Sunday, just like there's always a reason to drink. So and throughout that time I had a lot of I guess throughout my whole drinking time I had a lot of negative consequences where maybe someone might say, okay, this is kind of a red flag, and it never was a red flag for me ever. Like there was never a time where I was like, ooh, maybe I should cut back on this. So it didn't cross my mind. I did get a DWI, I guess we call them DUI, when I was like 25. I'm 35 now. I think when I was 25. And it was actually right after I met my husband, who's my husband now. So we met right before I got a DWI. And I had to go to jail for 2 nights, which I don't recommend. If anyone's wondering how that was, not fun. I definitely didn't fit in jail. But yeah, so I think I had to go for 2 nights because I blew so high when I blew. When they pulled me over, like my BAC was so high that I had to stay until I went to court. And so court was like, I got it on Thursday night and court wasn't until Thursday. So I had to stay those 2 nights for that reason.
But that wasn't what prompted you. That wasn't when you quit, right? Okay.
No. That was like 10.
Not.
It was like what, 7 years before I quit? Yeah.
Right.
Like there was, so I had to go to some classes, which I did. And there, like, I had friends who were getting these too. had friends who were getting DUIs, and I knew people that had DUI. It was just like one of those things that might happen. So if it does, you deal with it. You go to the classes, right? I didn't drink for maybe like 3 months, I think, because I was nervous that I was like going to get caught or something if I went to the bar, because you're not supposed to, I guess. And then I think I was on probation for like a year, which didn't stop me from doing anything. So what else? I just had to go to classes, I think. I lost my license, of course. Had to get that back, which, cost a ton of money. Thankfully, I have very good parents that have always supported me. An only child. So, they were able to help me out with that and kind of foot the bill for that. So, I never really had anyone to hold me accountable, and it's nothing against anybody else. Like you really have to hold yourself accountable when it comes down to it, which is why they always say like, no one is going to force you to stop drinking. You have to stop drinking on your own. But yeah, so, and that's kind of like a theme throughout too. Like my husband really never said like, you need to slow down, like you need to stop, So anyways, yeah, he's been with me through the whole last 10 years, 10, 11 maybe years we've been together. And he does not drink. Also, he does not drink. So he really loves me because he's been there through it all. And, but we talked recently, and for him, it was kind of normal too. Like this is what it is, right? Like it's normal to drink heavily and binge drink. And you see it on, movies and TV, and we see it, there's jokes about like being hungover and like blacking out. And so like, he always thought it was normal because, like my friends did it and his friends did it too. So like, I think if he was in a friend group that maybe didn't drink, it would have been different. but he just, what I did was normal. He did say, you know, recently that he thought that I got drunk way faster than everybody else. Like even if we were drinking the same amount, like he would see it in me right away. Like it would hit me so soon. And I think that's the thing too. Like I guess I've noticed that my whole life, that I've just like it's just like hit me so much faster. I mean, it doesn't stop me whatsoever, but like it just you know, I get drunk really quick. So you know, just during my 20s, I never had like a really serious job. I mean, I did, I guess, okay, towards the end of my 20s I did, but and that's kind of when I would only drink on the weekends. And I guess if you have like a, you know, Sunday fun day, then I would just be a little hungover on Monday, which is like the worst, you know, like going to work hungover. So blacking out still pretty like a thing that whole time. After the DWI, I guess there weren't any like there was no more like legal negative consequences, but there were definitely, you know, bad nights where you get too drunk and you lose your purse or whatever, like those kind of things, which also never really, like, I just like, oh yeah, it's fine, I'll just get a new purse. You know, like every morning it was like, oh, I don't know where my phone is. Oh, I'll just go to Verizon. Like, it's fine. You know, like everything was just like, oh, I'll just fix it. You know, like the guys at Verizon like knew me, like, oh, Blair lost her phone again. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah.
Did you ever talk about the fact that you were blacking out with your husband or with anybody? Like, did you just think that was part of drinking, or were you ever concerned at that point? Like,
no, I was never concerned because I thought, yeah, that was like what people said. I thought, I don't know when I realized that not everyone blacks out like that. So like, I don't know.
I'm a blackout drinker, so that's why I'm asking. I think I thought everyone did.
Yeah. I didn't realize that there are people who literally have never blacked out before. And I was like, what? But then again, it's like I was drinking to the point of blackout every time. Like it wasn't like I was again having, like, I mean, I was drinking like multiple bottles of wine and then beer or like whatever. Like it wasn't just a couple of glasses of wine. Like it was a lot every time. And it was just, I never had like an off switch. There was never a point in my drinking when I would sit down and start drinking that I would be like, okay, I'm getting a little drunk. I think I'm going to stop now. Like never, like that was never a thought that ever came into my head, you know? So yeah. And I think that's what really helped me when I did quit, was to realize like, that's how my brain works, and to just accept that like, I can't do that anymore because that's what's going to happen. So like, that was really helpful, I think, to accept it, like acceptance, when I quit. So we got pregnant. So we got married in 2015. And I did drink at my wedding. I didn't get, so like, I didn't get like super blacked out at my wedding, but I definitely, there's parts where like, it's like foggy kind of, I didn't do anything to like make a fool of myself. And that, I guess that might've been one of the times that I actually did try to watch what I was drinking a little bit, like, but I think it was borderline where like at any point I could have had one more drink and it would have been out of my hands. You know what I mean? So, but I remember most of the night, even going to bed, like I remember that time, but it's just sort of a little foggy. You know what I mean? It wasn't just like totally no memory. But yeah, so we went on our honeymoon, we went to Vegas, and of course, drinking is great in Vegas. My husband, again, doesn't drink. So he would run down to the Nike outlet. I'd be sitting by the pool with my whatever, fancy fruity drink. And that's kind of just how, it was nice, right? I always had a a DD, right? A designated driver, because he didn't drink. So it was like a bonus for me.
Blair,
yeah.
I just don't want to really interrupt too much of your
No, you're fine.
Where were your parents in all of this? What were they noticing? Did they say anything to you?
No, I think I was able to like hide it pretty well, like and not even like hide it, but like I guess we didn't have like a super close relationship. I would say I'm closer to my mom now than I ever have been, but I feel like maybe I did keep that relationship a little bit further away because I didn't want them to know like how I was partying and stuff, like I would go home like on a weekend and maybe be hungover, but I could hide it pretty well. I could like, I mean, inside I felt like absolute crap, but like outside, I mean, maybe I looked like crap too. I don't know, but like outside outside, I'm showered, I'm dressed, I'm whatever, but I just feel like I'm sick and all that. So
Hey, Blair.
Yeah.
What did your looking back, your friends and family now, do they say, did they looking back admit that they recognized it, and they didn't know what to say, or they were afraid to say it, or did you actually pull it off so well that they just never knew?
Okay, so it's probably different for every relationship. So like my friends, I mean, a lot of them were doing the same thing. So, and I would, find friends that were doing the same thing too. So I had a few friends that, were always down to go out and whatever. And, but yeah, I mean, like they knew that I was always like the friends always knew that I was like the one that was going to get super drunk. But I don't remember ever anyone like mentioning it to me, like, hey, you need to, whatever. It was just like, oh, Blair's doing it again. Oh, Blair like is in the ER. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like so normal.
I totally do. I mean,
funny.
Yeah.
It's just insane, like how normal it is. Like fall and hit your face and have to go to the ER from a bar. Like that was normal. Like, so yeah, no, I mean, as far as my parents, yeah, I don't know. I guess I think it was like out of sight, out of mind, maybe. You know what I mean? We're not really like we don't talk a lot about like our emotions and yeah, I mean, I think I played it off, the hangovers and stuff. It's not, and then maybe when I would drink around them, I didn't drink too much around them. I think that might have been it too. We'd go to like a party or something, a family event, and then I would maybe have a few, but I almost could keep it under control. I guess I could kind of keep it under control those times, but it's still like, it was like hard though. It was like really trying to keep it under control, even though I wanted to still have more beer or whatever it was at that party, yeah. So, and they live like, we didn't do like a lot of things together, like our family. I mean, we did, but it was like not, my parents my dad drank, but my mom didn't drink a lot. So like drinking wasn't a huge part of our family anyways. So it's not like there was a lot of events where like I would go home and we're all drinking together or anything like that. So a lot of times when I would go home, like I wouldn't drink then, if that helps. I don't know, kind of a roundabout way answering that question.
No, absolutely. One thing you said just really triggered something really short for me, is that I remember a couple years before I stopped drinking, and we had friends over, and I literally passed out in the garage. I think my husband took a picture of me. Which I to this day refuse to look at. And I think maybe he just said he took it just because I I remember the garage floor coming up to smash me in the face. Right?
Yeah.
I apologized to my friends the next day, and it just triggered what you just said.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you were just tired. You're fine. We love you.
Yeah.
I fell on my face. Like I had So love to hear about your pregnancy.
Yep. Yeah. So I got pregnant when I was like 29. Didn't drink at all after I found out, I was pregnant. It was very easy to just not drink at that point, which I've heard a lot of women say, like once they got pregnant, it's fine. You just don't, it's almost like a nice reason not to, right? Like before I never had a reason not to, even though I did have so many reasons I shouldn't, right? But like in my head, it didn't make sense. Those reasons didn't make sense. Now this is like, I actually can't, drink. And then, so when I was 30, I had him, and I think I didn't drink I wasn't like, oh, I can't wait to be done with this pregnancy so I can drink. I wasn't ever like that. It was just like, oh, I guess I can drink again, and so I think it was a couple months, maybe a month or two after I had him, that I had a few drinks, and it was slow. It was a couple drinks here and there. And I noticed I got, super drunk really fast. I hadn't drank in, 10 months or whatever, 11 months. And then it slowly progressed more. And this was now, I was still doing stuff with friends, but it was more, I'm at home with the baby. So, it's 5, I can have a drink. And so like, it's like, I feel like I always in my head thought, oh yeah, I can have a drink, but it was always more, like always ended up like the idea was like have a drink or 2 drinks, but like, it was just like, keep going. So, a lot more drinking at home alone then after I had him. And so there were times where like my husband would go with friends and I was home with him, and it was okay because I was a mom and I deserved it, right? Like we're told that mommy needs wine, so like it's fine, like this is what moms do. So but like even just like getting blackout drunk like at home, and I wouldn't say anything super bad ever happened, thankfully. Like there was one night, so this is kind of like leading up to when I quit, but there was one night where my husband was away at like a friend's house or something, and I was drinking, and I had knocked over the baby gate and dropped my wine glass and like spilt wine everywhere. And so I was like picking it up, and he came home and I was like cleaning it up, and there was like wine, or not wine, the glass like on my fingers, or on my hands from cleaning up the wine glass. And so it was actually a couple days after that then that I decided to quit drinking. That was kind of like, and that wasn't any different than any other night, you know what I mean? Like that wasn't like the worst thing that's ever happened to me, So, but I will say before I kind of go into like the quitting part, shoot, what was I gonna say? I don't remember now, but if I think about it, I'll tell you. But so then that a couple days after that, I was at work and I was looking up I don't know if I was looking up a blog or if I got an email with a blog from Scary Mommy. And I don't know if you guys know, that's like an online publication, Scary Mommy, just with writing and videos and stuff, supporting parents and whatnot. So, and it was about this lady who was a mom and she didn't drink. And it was a story that she was telling about something else. Well, then I looked her up, and I listened to like a podcast she was on. This is just a random like author of this blog. She was on a podcast and she had all these other blogs like on her website that were about like her journey, like not drinking. And I actually like looked her up on Facebook and I just like messaged her like this really long message. Like I still have it, telling her what happened a couple nights before and how I just like can't live this way anymore. Like I just can't keep doing this. Like I keep, drinking on weekends, then hate myself for a couple days, and then it wears off, and then it's Friday again, and I deserve a drink because it's Friday night, So I was doing that. That's just I was this cycle every weekend, And so she messaged me back actually and gave me all these blogs and podcasts and books and Instagram people to follow and stuff. And so I haven't drank since then. Like that was the time that I quit, and I went full into like the non-drinking stuff, like the alcohol-free books and podcasts. And like if there was a time in my day, like I was listening to a sober podcast, and it was like that for months. And I want to even say like up to like a year, maybe I was just like hardcore doing that stuff. I created a private Instagram account, separate from the one I have now, but like where I could like post about my days and not drinking, and I would join all the Facebook groups, right, that people are in now. And so that was like my support. I never went to like a meeting or anything like that. But yeah, so that's kind of like where it ended. There was something else I was going to say. Now I can't remember.
So Blair, how long
Yeah.
have you been alcohol free now?
It was just 3 years in February.
Congrats. Wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah. And so like, I think the hardest part after I quit was more, for me, it wasn't the not drinking. Like I never, even when I first quit, I never was like triggered that I would drink. Like, I think like literally from that day, I said to myself, like, this is no longer something like you can do, period. Like there's no question like, oh, maybe I'll drink again on a wedding or my son's wedding or whatever it is. It's just like, no, it's just not even an option. So like there's the one day at a time kind of thought process, which works for some people, but for me, like it was just like zero from the beginning. I'm not doing it again. I think the one day at a time thing helped me in the beginning just to not worry about those events. Like I think that was the hardest part for me when I quit, was like, oh my gosh, I have this bridal shower to go to and like this bachelorette party and this wedding, and like don't worry about those things, like, so I was just focused on like whatever at the moment, because then by the time those things came, I had more time under my belt, so it was like I was more comfortable like just saying no or just leaving early or whatever. And I slowly kind of so I didn't tell my husband right away either. Well, okay, I waited a week because I can't not tell him things. I waited a week and then told him kind of like, okay, I decided to quit drinking, like literally out of nowhere. And he's like, okay, like, because how many times have I said that? Like, oh, I'm never drinking again. But I was like, no, for real, like I'm not drinking ever again. He's like, okay. Like, I mean, I think he was like, okay, we'll see, and so I probably surprised him. But yeah, and then the hardest part I would say would be like figuring out, okay, what now? Like, who am I without it? Because like, that's all I did. Like I did other things, but alcohol was always there. Like you go on a boat, alcohol's there, barbecue, it's there. You go, to this event, I say barbecue, there, drinking was there. Alcohol was always there at those things. I never really had like hobbies. Like my hobby would be like hanging out with friends, but whatever we did, it was just drinking. So that was like the hardest part, I think, is figuring that out. And even still, like I'll still think of like, oh yeah, wow, I actually do like to do this, or actually don't like to do that, so I'm not going to do that, and like figuring out what you do and what you don't like, and who you don't really, like just spend your time around, like that. Not like my friends, but like people that you were like your bar friends, you know what I mean? Like there's some people that I just don't really talk to anymore. And the longer I get away from drinking, I think the more comfortable I am with setting those boundaries and saying, like this isn't for me, like you guys go do that, it's fine, like whatever. So, and I still have all the same friends and they all drink, probably not as much as we used to, because everybody has kids. Not everybody, but a lot of people have kids or serious jobs, so of course it's not like we normally used to, but they still do, and I'm fine being around it. I just don't stay very long. So
Blair, what did you have anybody else like one of your friends get sober? Have you had anybody else get sober in your life that that maybe after you or before you, anything like that?
No, before me, no. Like there was no one in my real life that I could talk to about being like not drinking. After I did, there was a couple friends that like kind of expressed interest in it, and thought, it kind of made them look and like, wow, maybe I should assess my drinking habits a little bit. So I think maybe it did make people recognize their just how their drinking was, and so that's been good. But nobody that like, I don't think that's very close to me, no, that got sober after me. So
what gets you up in the morning?
My 4-year-old.
Literally, right? Literally.
So I really like the morning because, which was never a thing before, it was like sleep as late as possible, right? Because you're hungover. But now, like the morning is like the only time that I can be the only person awake in my house. So if I'm lucky, my toddler, like today, will sleep till 6:30, and then I'll get, an hour or whatever. But I just like that, like I'm definitely a morning person now. So I just like to get up and have my tea or whatever. And I write now. I'm a writer. I do writings I write blogs for the most part. So I get up and I'll do some of that stuff, or I'll work on some of my Instagram, posts that I make. That's kind of a literal answer. I don't know if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, you're so good. I mean, I love the part where you describe yourself as blunt with a sprinkle of sarcasm. I am so attracted to sarcastic people. It's like I think I have a PhD in it.
Right.
So, and I have a really good friend I got sober with in Minnesota.
Oh, yeah.
And there are just a boatload of support people in Minnesota, like Jeff.
Right.
Yeah. I kind of relate that a sprinkle of sarcasm with the Minnesota nice. Can you talk a little bit about
like passive aggressive?
Yeah. Can you talk
Yes.
a little bit about that?
Oh my gosh. I don't even know what to say. Yeah, so it's almost like that whole like not talking about your feelings thing too. It's like we want to make everything like seem like it's okay when it's really not. And it's just like it's almost like we'll like be really nice to you and then like talk about you behind your back. You know what I mean? Or like complain when we go home. Yeah, Minnesota nice is just passive aggressive, like somebody cuts you off and you're like, oh yeah, thanks. And then you call them a name, like when they, when you drive off, like, that's just like, what is like, oh yeah, go ahead, you go ahead. And then you're just like mad about whatever. It's just kind of fakey, I don't know. I don't want to make any Minnesotans mad.
I want to turn it over to Kezia, but I was laughing because once I met my friend in Janet in Minnesota.
Yeah.
We've been together since day one of our sobriety in Sober Sis. So I can tell when like she's talking on our Marco group when and I'm like, that was totally Minnesota nice. And she goes,
yeah, that's funny.
It's so funny. Kezia.
Yes. I just had a couple of things. What are you reading right now?
Oh, so I actually just started a book yesterday called Wishful Drinking, I think, by what's the lady that was Princess Leia? What's her name? I forget.
Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, it's her book. Right? It's her like memoir.
Oh, in your story yesterday, right?
Yeah. So I just started that yesterday. I don't feel like I read like quitting drinking books like because I need them. I just like to hear people tell their stories. So like that's kind of like just I've always liked, like intervention and like shows like that. So that's just like kind of like what I like to listen to. I also like murder documentaries and things like that, of course, right? Like Dateline, but
me too.
so I just started that yesterday, and it's pretty good. But I have been listening to Glennon Doyle has a new podcast.
Yes.
Called We Can Do Hard Things, and it's so good. It comes out every Tuesday, and so like I just wait for the next episode. And then Laura McCowan's going to start a new podcast too soon, so I'm going to start that one. But I've been doing podcasts kind of lately, and I don't, I have to do audiobooks because I can't. I'll do them on my walk and then like going to work and stuff. I just don't have time to read a book. I just don't. Like I spend most of my time with my son, and then my husband and I have an hour to maybe 2 hours if I don't fall asleep at night to ourselves, so we watch TV. But
I'm a big podcast fan too. I listen to them when I'm like working out or making dinner or whatever. I read books too. My house is getting taken over by books, and my husband's just like, where are we gonna put these all? Because we're in an apartment right now while we saved to buy a house. And I'm like, good question.
I have tons of them, but it's like I don't know when I'm gonna read them. Like I just maybe someday when I retire, that's when I'll read all the books.
Books are my love language, so like I just have to have them around me. Library books too. I try to do library books, but then I have so many in my TBR pile that it's like I just keep renewing them, and I'm like, oh God, Kezia, seriously. I have Pet Sematary. Like, when am I going to read that? Right. Love Stephen King. Not going to read the book again.
Funny.
What are your favorite cheeses?
Cheeses?
Yes.
No, I don't like to discriminate cheese. Okay. So if a cheese finds its way into my hands, I will eat it.
I
You know, I
like that.
usually go for a pretty average, like sharp cheddar, extra sharp cheddar, or maybe a Colby. Oh,
Mm.
I also am a fan of brie with like
Ah,
those little water crackers, like those little water
yes.
crackers. And then, yeah, I'd eat a
That.
whole block of that.
And like
Yeah.
cranberry or like some type of like
Yes,
sweet
that would be
chili
good.
jelly.
I
Ugh.
just do plain, but I would eat that though. I always forget
Mm.
to get that stuff.
You just get straight to
I
the
love,
cheese.
yeah, just, yeah, right. No wasting time. But
I'm gonna
there's
have
cheese
to
like daily in my life. What?
I'm gonna have to turn you on to raclette.
Oh,
Mm.
My stepdaughter is married a French guy, so when we were
ooh,
back there, it's like almost like a fondue, like a
Mhm.
Swiss cheese fondue, and then they put, pickles and
yes,
a fancy ham and dip and
yes.
also small potatoes. So
Oh,
That's
I
funny
have
that you say
I
that
have
because
I would eat that.
I worked in a tapas restaurant a few years ago and we served a raclette.
Oh,
really.
More of
funny.
like a Spanish inspiration, but still because they were close to the border there and they just that was probably one of our most popular shareable items.
So
I mean,
Yum.
tapas is all shareable, but yeah,
Yeah.
so good.
Yes,
another
I could have like a meat and cheese tray platter,
Oh,
charcuterie platter, like every day.
Yeah,
Every day
Eat
I eat
that.
that.
I'm like a charcuterie queen now.
Yeah.
My friends were making fun of me the other day because now I can make roses by folding salami around a wine glass.
Oh,
So if you
Peggy.
yes, you can.
that is
Wow.
advanced.
I don't drink
To
the
get on
wine
your level.
anymore, so now I can. And that's what happens. People are like, "Oh, are you making salami roses again?"
No.
Yes, I am.
Anxiety
Yes.
reducer, right?
Don't judge.
Whenever
That's
I feel anxious, I make roses out of salami, right? So that's what I do.
We all have our thing, you know.
I have one more silly question. Sorry.
Yeah, that's
I
okay. I like
know
silly.
you said you played basketball and you're tall, and I know that Peggy's tall. And so
Oh,
how tall are you?
I'm 5'8". My daughter's 5'11".
Okay. And Blair, how tall are you?
so I'm like between 5'11" and 6 foot. Like if I put like sneakers on, I'm 6 feet probably.
Okay. Okay. I'm 5'4", so
Yeah.
I always ask you
Oh yeah.
these questions
You
because
just
on
never
Zoom you can't
know.
tell.
I
You
know,
can't.
you just can't tell. So yeah, the other day I was like, hey, you look really tall. Are you tall? And the person's like, no, I'm like 5'6". And I'm like, oh, because like people present certain ways you
Mhm.
just can't really tell online. So it's funny.
We actually,
My
that's so
husband's about
funny, Kezia, because we actually, with Sober Sis, we started out with 25 people on Marco group, the kind
yeah.
of video bulletin board. And about 6 months in, it was like, how tall are you? And people we thought were tall
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
like 5 feet. And then
Wow.
it was just because we only see this part of ourselves. It's really interesting. And we actually met our Northern California group met for lunch a couple weeks ago, and
Well,
we were all like, oh my God, you're short. Oh my God, you're tall. It was
that's so funny.
insane. It was insane.
It's kind of like the masks, like you don't see someone. So I like work with patients at my work. So I work across the table from a patient and they have their mask on the whole time. And so they'll take it down to take a drink. I'm like, that is not what I thought your face looked like. You know what I mean? Like your brain automatically kind of like puts the rest of the thing together. I bet they do, it does that with like the height thing too, it's like interesting.
I went to the store a couple days ago in California, just went mask free a couple days ago. And I went to the store and there's a few people still wearing masks, but I wanted to hug everyone in the parking lot. Like we're all smiling at each other. It was just like, it was incredible.
Yeah.
The mask thing is crazy because we went on a vacation in April and we're at the airport and my daughter met us there. She has 2 sets of twins. And I saw her walking up with the kids and got distracted because I'm one of those people that gets distracted by a blade of grass.
Yeah, me too.
And
Me too.
I turned around and ran up and hugged this kid that wasn't my grandson. And we went down.
I love this story so much. Every time.
We went down to the floor. Like I tripped over.
Oh my God.
My daughter, who is your age and Kezia's age, is like, holy shit, Mom, that's not drink.
At least you were sober, though. At
I was
least you were
totally
sober.
True.
And
True.
thank God the little kid thought it was funny, you know.
Oh my
Mm.
gosh,
But
that's
all
funny.
kids look alike at the airport with masks on.
Right. Yeah. Right.
I just had one other question, Blair.
Yeah.
Just to kind of tie it back to sobriety, and to people that are watching this, what advice would you give to someone who's, you know, maybe questioning their drinking or concerned about some of the stuff that's going on, but doesn't know how to get out of that cycle? And I know we've probably all had numerous day ones or like, oh, I'm never going to drink again.
Yeah.
What for you would you say to that person that can help them to get to a place where they feel that they can actually do it?
Right. So for me, like just hearing other people's stories was really helpful, which is why I continue to like talk about mine and why I do things like this, because I think a lot of us feel like we're the only ones who like went through something or, feel a certain way, and really we're not. Like our stories are not unique,
Oh.
and so I just would say to someone like, you don't have to drink. We think that we have to do it. Like the commercials tell us we have to, Instagram tells us we have to, unless you're in the sober Instagram community. That's a whole other story. But like, your friends, just everything tells you that you have to drink, but you don't have to. So, I mean, the book that I read in the beginning was This Naked Mind. And I know people throw that book around all the time, but that was like the book that helped me change my drinking habits, because it just made me realize, wow, we're like told this lie, that we need alcohol to do everything, and we just really don't. And I think, I don't know. So like for me, it was hard because, so for me, like I said, I just quit one day and it was done. And there was no moderating back and forth and like, oh, I wish I could stop. Like, I was like, I just don't want to do this anymore. So I'm done. And I know that's not the case for a lot of people. And so sometimes I do have a hard time talking to like people who are interested in that, because I'm, well, just don't drink anymore, and it's like not that easy,
Yeah.
Get the alcohol out of the house. If you have a spouse or a partner or family that drinks, ask them, hey, can I take the alcohol out of the house for a couple of weeks, or see if they'll do like a challenge with you. Like, hey, let's do a month-long challenge. Dry July's coming, like any of those kind of things, like just to get a few days, a week, 2 weeks, a month under your belt, so that you then can start getting those benefits. And then it's a little bit easier to be like, oh, maybe I don't want to go back. So even if you just try it out for like a month, like don't even say, you don't have to say forever right away, but just try it out for a month or whatever it is, and see if you like it. And if you do, then keep doing it,
Yeah.
I don't know, that's, yeah.
What advice would you give your 15-year-old self?
Oh, geez. Oh, I don't know. That's hard. I don't think that I was doing anything when I was that age that was abnormal to like your typical teenager. So I often don't, I don't like regret a lot, because I don't know if I would be where I am today if I didn't do every little thing that happened, in my life. So, oh, this is so hard, because I don't even want to say like, don't drink, like, because I experimented and and it got to me where I am today, I would just say like, you don't have to do things to fit in.
I love that.
Just because, just because everybody's doing it doesn't mean you have to do it. Like, figure out what you want. I don't know if a 15-year-old would have the capacity to do this, but like figure out what you want to do. Because I didn't learn that until I was 34. Figure out what I wanted to do, instead of doing what everybody else was doing. So, yeah.
That's beautiful
I really
advice.
love that, because you're right. And I think that's what attracted, when Kezia said that you were going to come on to the show.
Yeah.
I was so excited, because I feel like that, even though I'm a generation away, that's exactly how I feel about my life. I feel like that's sort of like, you're going to go through a lot of stuff, but you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
You're going to be fine.
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
and I think sometimes that's the difference between people that are successful with sobriety and people that are not. And
Yeah.
I love your philosophy of one day at a time, just tuck yourself into bed sober tonight.
Yeah.
Because that's where people trip up. They start doing a lot of future tripping. And, you know, like you said, even when I first started was like, oh my gosh, I have one son left to get married. And, you know, I won't be able to drink champagne at his wedding. Now, I'm almost 2 years in, and it's like, who gives a shit? I don't
like
care.
why is that a big deal? You know what I mean? Like
So
it's just
stupid now
it's
to
like
me.
it's just a champagne. It's not like you're still in the moment. Like, are you there for the champagne, or are you there for, you know, your son's getting married, you know? So it's but it's like this way of thinking that I think a lot of us do, and I know why we do. You know, we're told these stories throughout our lives that that's how it is. And so like recognizing that you don't have to do that is really powerful, I think.
I think also, I mean, that raises a good point, is like alcohol is the crutch that you didn't actually need. So you think in those
Right.
situations that you need that, but you're more concerned about that alcohol than about being present and just being there for the moment. And I think sometimes it's different for everybody. I know I felt uncomfortable in social situations. So for me, the alcohol removed me from my body a little bit, that I was able to quote be there, but half the time I was blackout, that I didn't even remember being in
Right.
bars or being in places. And so now it's like being this, you know, anxious introvert, but it's learning how to be in your own skin. And I think that's
Yeah.
kind of what I would tell
Yes.
my 15-year-old self, is like, yeah, you're going to be okay. You will go through a lot of stuff, but also your skin is the one that you're meant to be in, and you're meant to show up in the world exactly as you are right now. So
I just love that
Yes.
so much. We
That's
conflate
good.
alcohol with connection when it's absolutely the opposite.
good word, Peggy. Good word.
Yeah. And I
Love
feel
it.
like you said, you're an introvert. Like so when I was drinking, I was like the most obnoxious person. Like I was the person at the bar, like talking to everyone, you know, trying to start whatever game or karaoke. I would never do karaoke. I am never doing karaoke in my life again. And that's fine. I'm never dancing at a wedding. Like I was out there, you know, like doing things that I would never do. And like, I realized, you know, now I'm an introvert. I am not an extrovert at all. And I was like I'm an outgoing introvert is what I've decided. So I'm still loud and kind of obnoxious, but I just want to be by myself sometimes, you know, it's not, I don't know. So I'm like totally different when it comes to that introvert extrovert thing.
Oh, totally. I hate small talk. And
Mhm.
that's when I realized that I cannot stand small talk. I can't stand it when someone says, how are you?
Get down to business.
Do you really want to
They
know?
don't really effing care. They don't care.
When I call
Yeah.
Peggy, she's in and out in 5 minutes. I'm like, all right, see you later. That's just who you are, you know.
Yeah.
Favorite
And I
word.
also,
Oh, sorry. No, finish first.
I was just going to say, I also think like, I don't think it's possible for me to not be where I am today, because I think it was like, there's no way around my past, because you know, if you put me in my brain chemistry with not having that off switch and not being able to kind of just have one or even think about that, plus, you know, where I lived, who my friends were, what we did, like I wouldn't have not drank and been in those situations. Like that's just not a thing. So like accepting that, like, and not, you know, oh, I wish I wouldn't have done this. And I wish I wouldn't have, you know, lost my purse 17 times. I mean, I don't know how many times, but like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I wish those things didn't happen, but they did. And I think with the regret, people, you know, often have a hard time dealing with regret and shame and stuff. I guess I haven't had any huge difficulties, like things that I regret, but I just try not to think about it, because it's like not relevant anymore. Like it's the past, and like going forward, you know, if there's people that you have to apologize to them, and move forward, really. I try not to think about, I mean, I think about the past a lot because I post about it and I blog about it and stuff like that, but I'm not like, oh, I just regret it, you know, because I can't do anything about it now.
Oh, totally. I love that. I love that. What's your favorite word?
Oh my gosh, there's so many to choose from.
Give me
Your favorite word today.
Favorite word? Oh my gosh, I don't know. If I'm gonna go Minnesotan, then I have to say it's ope.
Tell me about that.
Like anytime you're like, maybe you like are going in a doorway and there's somebody else on the other side and you're like, oh,
That's awesome.
Like
or
how
like
Canadians say
like,
sorry, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Or you're like, you just have to like, oh, I'm just gonna sneak by you here. Like if you're just trying to get around somebody, like just those little, it's a Minnesotan thing. Yeah. Oh,
I love it.
my son does it now too. He's only 4.
There's kind of a connection between you and Kezia because there, you can, it's almost a Canadian carryover into Minnesota. So
It's cold in both places.
Yeah.
From a Californian, yeah.
That's funny.
Favorite movie?
Shoot, I have like 5.
Okay.
Tell us.
Dumb and Dumber.
My husband would
Dumb
love
and Dumber. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, like the old one.
That's his favorite movie of all time.
It
Sorry, I'm
is?
hijacking
It's like
this.
the
Yes.
best.
No, you're
The
not.
best.
It's awesome.
Willy Wonka. I will say Love and Basketball, but I haven't seen that in so long. I should watch that again. But that's a good one. But Dumb and Dumber and Willy Wonka would probably be my top ones. I do love a good, Beauty and the Beast, though.
Mm-hmm.
Or Aladdin. Sorry,
Oh
I say
my
I'm a
goodness.
4-year-old, so like I'm watching these.
I love Never Ending Story and Princess Bride. I don't know why that
Princess
just
Bride,
We
yeah.
watched Princess Bride recently. We do movie Sunday at my house we try to do it every Sunday. We do
Yeah.
Princess Bride, and James had never seen that before, and I was
What?
like,
so
he hasn't
good.
seen
I
Dirty
know every
Dancing.
word.
Oh,
I know every word to that
do
movie.
you?
That's funny.
Last question from me, and then Kezia can
Sure.
wrap it up. Do you have a favorite zero proof cocktail?
So when I quit drinking, I never really got into the whole non-alcoholic drink thing because I always drank for the buzz. So if it wasn't giving me that, why am I drinking it? You know what I mean? So I'll just drink water is kind of my thought process. But now that I am a little bit more active, like on Instagram and stuff, I have been trying all these different kinds of drinks. And so I won a contest or giveaway or whatever from Groovy. And the brand Groovy. And so this is just a story. I won some NA beer. And so I was like, okay, well, I hadn't tried NA beer ever. This was only a couple months ago, probably. And I sat down and like opened it up, took a drink, and I was like, why? Like, why am I drinking this? I just didn't like I don't like the taste of beer. I never drank it for the taste. So it's not beer. But I do like Mocktail Club. It's a company out of Washington, DC. And it's a Black woman-owned business. She started it on her own. So Mocktail Club, and then also I do like the Nope drinks. They have a couple different flavors, like 4 different flavors. Nope is the brand. But otherwise, I'll just have like an iced tea or a water or a iced coffee. But I do like something that has a little caffeine in it. So I still get something out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm the same.
Anything else, my buddy Kezia?
No, I just wanted to give you a chance to tell our viewers and listeners where they can find you.
Sure.
What you're up to.
So I post daily on Instagram at Sobriety Activist. That's kind of like this is like my full circle now. Like I'm the person who's like supporting other people. So I'm getting these messages from people that I messaged, 3 years ago. It's like this, it's like
Beautiful.
chills, this full circle thing, which I never knew that it would be, right? 3 years ago, who would have thought? But so yeah, that's Sobriety Activist. And then I did create my own website this year, which I would have never done. Like what? Because I write. And so I needed a place to kind of house my writing, and I put features, things like this on that site too. People can watch. So that's blairsharp.com. And then I also have a Facebook writer page. It's just Blair Sharp -writer. That's where I just post my blogs too. And I'm also on like LinkedIn, but I kind of post the same. I just repost my blogs there. because hopefully someday maybe I'll be a writer someday. Like, I mean, I'm a writer, but it would be amazing to do that like as a career somehow. But right now,
We're all in that boat.
I know, right? It's not just an easy thing. So, I mean, I'm just doing like guest posting now, and I write for the Sober Curator website, and then I write for a it's called Rochester Mom. It's a parenting resource
for
in my
it.
city. Yeah, there's really good things on there.
Yes.
So it's not just for moms. Lots of stuff, lots of good stuff. So yeah.
Very exciting. Yeah, that was it for me. Jeff, I guess we'll take it back to you.
Blair, thank you so much. My last question, the mocktail thing is I'm afraid to. I think they're great. I wish I could, and I've talked to people that love them. I just don't know. I'm scared of them.
Yeah.
The reward that I would get is not. The risk is just too. I just know me, and for other people, I think it's a you decision, not for me to decide, but. For me, I just can't. I've worked too hard to get to where I am in the last year and a half, and but other people go for it. I think it's great.
Yeah, I just recently had so Bloody Marys were like my thing. Like I love Bloody Marys, and I hadn't had one. I just had one two or 3 weeks ago for the first time in like 3 years at a restaurant, and it was amazing. It was like the same flavor, like it was great, and so. But yeah, it was more of like the tomato, like the food part of, you get everything on your Bloody Mary. But yeah, just the beer and stuff isn't really for me. Even like the NA wine, like that's not really my thing. But
because there isn't any good NA wine. I'm sorry.
Maybe that's why. I never
bad.
drank it because it tasted good. To be honest, I really didn't.
Well, I wouldn't mind. I'd try like a mock. The daiquiris or those kind of drinks, because I don't think I would associate that like I would with the drink. Yeah, that's exactly, and that's what scares me.
That about you, Jeff, that you drink daiquiris. Now my whole image of you is like,
Peggy is going to latch onto this, Jeff. You are never going to hear the end of it.
I could probably count the amount on 2 hands, but I loved them. Margaritas, daiquiris, but I just never.
Miami Vices.
You just admitted that live that you like daiquiris.
I do. I admit that I like them, but it was. I preferred the 30-pack of Natural Light over that.
Oh, yeah.
But that's
Dirty 30.
Yeah, that was. We've gone over, but just with this group, because I love what you guys are saying, and Blair, what your podcasts and the writings, but with this family reunion, I was actually approached by a couple people last night that knew what I was doing with the, my journey. And I got approached and kind of sat down and got those questions asked, that it's obviously people, they didn't go as far to say I'm asking for a friend, but you could tell what it was and how do you, and the questions were very, and it was great, the beauty. And it was, I'm learning I just share. I don't judge. I don't tell them. I don't tell people what to do. I just tell them what worked for me. And there's a lot of, I think for this, what worked for me, and I don't know if with the others, but when I first felt, hey, I'm not alone. There's others that are going through this, which was crazy because it was no one else drank like I did. I was telling some people last night just to create. I was saying 2 years ago at this same party, what would have happened? The amount of the drinking to come up here. I said that truck over there, my truck would have a cooler or 2 hidden in it. I would have gone to the bathroom several times when I didn't have to go, just to go get to the other cooler, and then I would have come back. And how you didn't notice how much belching I was doing off of a half a beer that I drank over 10 minutes. Well, that's because I just pounded 4 when you weren't, to get the amount of work. And then the ones I would have had hidden. And tomorrow morning, I'm going to get up early, go to go get coffee. Oh, we have some. I know, but I like Starbucks. No, I need to get a dumpster and get rid of all the aluminum evidence. I got some of these, oh God, me too. Oh, those, which was just huge. So what you're doing is just fantastic.
And I think not to keep it going here, but sorry, but
no, you're good.
The mommy wine culture is so big. And so I've heard a lot of people who are just drinkers, that don't have struggles with it, who have just said to me like, wow, like I never looked at it that way. Yeah. Just like noticing when they go to a store, how much stuff has jokes about moms needing to drink and like mommy juice, mommy sippy cup, dad's whatever on a koozie, just these jokes that are like everywhere. So it's not even like I'm trying to get people to stop drinking. I'm just saying like, notice how much we're told that we have to drink. And if you don't want to drink, don't drink, and I'm not saying that like I'm not saying that life in general for everyone is better without alcohol. I'm just saying my life is better without alcohol. So sometimes that can be confused.
Yeah. So then, I mean, the last thing I wanted to say on top of that, Blair, is that, I took my daughter and her 2 sets of twins to Disney on Ice, and they had a full bar at a 2 o'clock matinee.
Yeah.
And a guy spilled his 40 down my back. And so
that story just gives me chills every time.
I have chills too.
Go with that. And then someone the other day talked about the fact that the zoo they went to.
Yes, I saw that in Toronto.
Margaritas and seltzer and beer in a vending machine.
It's like so normalized.
Wow.
So normalized.
3 years ago I would have been like, hell yeah. Like
I would have been all
great.
over that, because then you're not rushing back home to get your drinks on.
Right.
You're going to have it right there.
It's legal, it's accepted, it's out there. So obviously it's not, I don't have to sneak it at that point.
Yeah, mommy, why are you in the cage with the lions?
Right? Not if it were cigarettes, though.
Where's that Peggy? I saw her scaling a wall a few minutes ago, and something about me and the hyenas are going to have a great time.
Just bonding, getting close.
Yeah.
So.
And then they have to drive their kids home.
Then they drive their kids home. Yep.
And it's fine if you can have one. That's fine. Like, we're not saying like, it's not, I mean, it's not, I don't think it's okay, but like,
it's
I'm not
encouraging
saying
people to have more though.
Right. And there's
Upsizing
people
of
that can't not have one.
Right.
There's people like, if there's me there, I'm not just having one of those.
That's
marketing.
What I mean? They're marketing it specifically to people, to everyone. But of course, those of us who have a problem with alcohol, they're pushing it so hard. Still that happens. And
well, one thing I want to really discuss further, I heard last night was all my friends drink, and this was from a gal, and the wine culture or whatever. The kids are gone, but the get-togethers were really tough because, no, I'm good, or I'll just have a Diet Coke. Oh, come on, shoving it at her. Like, just have one. It's been, oh my God, it was, and I was trying to explain, well, they're justifying their own drinking. I mean, there's a whole nother topic there, but that was really that fighting that resistance of the peer pressure. Oh, just I just bought you got to try this. It's delicious. These blah, blah, blah things are the best. He makes them so good. Have one. And, I can feel myself caving in those things. It's tough. And then the other question, well, what do you do on a Friday night when, she asks, my husband is out of town because he traveled. I mean, I sit there and go, this is the time. I deserve this. How do you not do that? And I was like, I wish I had the one word or the one sentence answer.
Yeah.
It's hard, but that's why we're all here.
Find something else to do, right?
Well, we'd love to have you back again sometime.
Yeah.
Just
I would love that.
Easy conversation this has been. So
good.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Blair. Well, again, have a great weekend, everyone. And tomorrow night is Father's Day. I'll be looking for all the cards and gifts primarily. Gift cards are fine in the mail. Yeah, I'll be looking at for that. But anyways, for Father's Day tomorrow at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, Kathy's got our own David M. from Boston, who we're going to talk golf, ties, and sobriety. And he doesn't golf. He doesn't wear any ties. So I think it'll probably be mostly sobriety talk, but he's on at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. And then we'll just get back to a regular week. So Blair, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, Blair.
Really appreciate it. All right, everyone. Kezia, Peggy, you're awesome as always. I'm sure there'll be lots of compliments about 3 of the 4 people on the screen right now. As everyone forgets. No, that's great. I love listening. I get, I pick up the little nuggets that I can polish my recovery, my toolbox, add the little things that just help. Constantly have to grow, and listening is the key, and talking. So anyways, everyone have a great weekend. Okay. We'll see ya. Thanks again, Blair.
Thank you.